is being able to, as we all say, to be with migrants and to work with migrants. And that's a really important part of who I am as a social worker, but also recognizing a social worker who is also a migrant in South Africa. And that being able to work with women who have experienced trauma and come into the shelter after experiencing different traumatic situations and working with them to see them grow, to see them learn how to manage their triggers, to see them learn how to heal themselves. I think that for me is part of what it means to work with, to work in the shelter, to work for Bienvenu Shelter. To be able to see these women form a sense of community, to help them form a sense of community, rebuild their own dignity because we're always working towards dignity and building the dignity of the women, rebuild their dignity, work with them to find their own voice again, for them to feel empowered enough to stand for themselves and to stand up for their children so that they are able to protect not just themselves but also their children. It's also being able to provide access to services, things like health, things like school, because sometimes when the women that we work with come, they've given up. So to be able to encourage them to a point where they're able to fight for themselves, that their children are able to get access, and to be able to walk with them towards that process so that by the time they leave the shelter, they're at a place where they know that they can stand for themselves. They know that even though life will not be 100%, it will not be where they were before they came in. Working for Bienvenu Shelter is also being able to provide empowerment for the women because, as we know, we work with migrants, and the reality of migrants is that to find work is quite difficult. So, if someone is able to come and say that when I came, I did not have a skill, and when I left, I have a skill that I can use to provide for my child. If a resident comes and says that I did not know how to bake, now I know how to bake, I know how to at least make bread for my children so that my children cannot go hungry at any point. That for me is such a big thing in terms of working for the shelter. Things around being aware of the culture, the different cultures that we work with, the different spaces that these women are coming from their home country, and being able to understand that. I think as a social worker that also has become very important because then it helps us it makes it more fulfilling to work with this population, to work with Bienvenue Shelter, because it creates a sense of understanding of the geopolitical situation within the continent and how that affects women, because we often think that migration only happens outside of Africa. We rarely talk about how migration happens within Africa and how forced displacement happens within Africa, and to see how it particularly affects women. To be able to be part of the voices that stand up for a population that is often forgotten and often sidelined when it comes to conversation of gender-based violence, conversation of access to health, conversation of social services. It's a very fulfilling part of my work. So, I mean, we are a very big team at the organization, and we often, sometimes it feels like whatever small thing we do is not big, doesn't make a difference. And sometimes when we meet the women that we work with out there and they say, oh, so and so, you, I was in your shelter at this point and you helped me and now I'm doing very well. I think that is something that we should be able to hold on to remember that our work is compassion that has manifested, and our work is about restoring dignity. And in whatever small way that we are able to do it as staff, as volunteers, it's something that we should be proud of, and it's something that we should celebrate.